Welcome back to the Torque Test channel. A while ago, a viewer suggested we tested cordless screwdrivers, and you guys seem to really like that, but it also probably didn't go as we had planned. We usually start in order of price and work our way up, and that means increasing performance from there most of the time. But this dang Denali by Amazon, like it's Amazon's own brand of tools, just did so well. They appear to have since decided to drop the Denali off of it altogether and put their own back on it, calling it Amazon Basics now. I'm going to keep calling it Denali for short, but either way, it pretty much beat everything, only a DeWalt many times its price and size, giving a run for its money. Today, we have pencil type cordless screwdrivers. Well, the original screwdriver is also cordless, but you know what I mean. All these models suggested by you guys from that video to take on the $24 Amazon Denali, but we can buy a bunch of pistol type screwdrivers if you guys want to see those as well. And included today is a skill rematch. They manufacture that Denali, maybe their other model has a better shot. Vessel's latest from Japan, you can also order on Amazon US. Dremel, a $170 Mac Tools model, and more. So let's dive in. In order of price, yet again, let's see how this goes. We got the Dongcheng with a neat little case, somehow coming in less at $20 than that Amazon guy this time. This Dongcheng is made by the same folks who put out DCK, that brand of tools. They definitely have a way with brand names, but they are known elsewhere, like in the world, at least in East Asia, as their own sort of Milwaukee, a go-to brand in many countries. This is a very similar design to the Denali unit, but is a bit chunkier and a little bit heavier as well. We measure this displacing 170 cc's compared to 160 cc's. So we're going to, of course, test speed and power under that speed, but this does have much more sensitive settings as well for you folks doing delicate work. Though it does seem to have some beans behind it too, and it's USB-C recharging like the Amazon brand as well. Let's see how it stacks up. This is a series of 1/4 bolts with 3 just bog standard free spinning nuts to fasten here, then 3 nylon lock nuts to remove, 3 lock nuts to tighten, and finally 2 5/16, so larger thread bolts with nylon lock nuts, which represent a little bit of a harder task. New nuts are used for each tool. And here we have Denali on top with DC on bottom. Amazon's own brand seems to have a higher free spinning RPM, so that gets an early lead here. The DC on tougher to rotate stuff, I mean, we're talking 1/4 thread nylon nuts here, nothing too crazy, does have a very slight edge, and that edge is carried onto the bit larger thread sizes at the end, but not enough to catch up. The Amazon Denali finishes in at 63 seconds to the Dongcheng 70. That's actually pretty good, which makes for 35 points here. Per popular request, gauntlet times are halved for points with our new ranking here that you guys can find with our rank charts updated. Points being something you don't want, and the rest of this will be weighted ranking from 1 to 10, which we'll fill in once we have the rest on here. Tools with about the same price or about the same size will get the same ranking score. Up next, by price, is the $30 skill. We tried their latest, the Twist 2.0 last time, but maybe one of their more standard looking screwdrivers will get the job done in some cases quicker. This has a twist collar for the forward reverse, which can't say that's our favorite. Hard to adjust power that way as well. And it's also micro USB. But a neat feature of this is that it has a sort of voltage power detection meter with an audible beep and light for circuits and plugs. That might be handy for you. Gotta say though, doesn't feel like a lot of sauce. Easy enough to slow by hand here. And by hand would be an accurate picture to paint in using this thing often. Here up against the DC, outside of just free spinning nuts, which, hey, on light switches, maybe stuff like that, it's going to be fine. But outside of that, yeah, you're going to be getting quite the wrist and forearm pump using this thing. The testing gets finished either way with the aid of the tool where it can, and by hand otherwise, just like using this tool would be. All these models can be used by hand, but some of them are going to require you more than others to use it by hand here, totaling both electrically driven and a lot of hand driven whenever it can't move by itself. We got a record-breaking 309 seconds, dethroning the previous record holder Craftsman at 236 seconds, which was at least able to do a couple of these before requiring help on the rest of the run. The Twist 2.0 completed this in less than a third of that time, so that appears to be their best offering, except for the Denali that they make exclusively for Amazon. It appears to still somehow be untouched. Let's see what we can do about that. Going up $10 in price again, we have the Dremel, another known brand for small and sometimes high-power tools. This seems a bit funky on some aspects. It is micro USB here. It has a forward reverse switch, then an independent power switch. so not as easy to go back and forth. But something I didn't notice until using most of these the last couple of weeks is the Dremel has this switch mode, because simply pressing it forward, the tool initiates power, which comes in pretty handy. Even in reverse, I find often what's clunky about these tools is how you have to hold them to operate the forward reverse switch. With this one, any way you have it in your hand, you just push it forward and away it goes. And it has one thing nothing we've tested or will test today has: a mechanical clutch. This has 6 separate clutch mechanism settings that don't simply limit power based on how much juice is sent to the motor. It will intervene and click to stop that torque at different settings. It has quite a lot of torque on its higher setting. I think this has a lot of upsides to offer someone installing the same thing often, and a lot of unique designs in it that come with a very small size penalty compared to the rest. Let's see how it does in driving speed under some load. DC on top here. There's not much between them in free speed, and even driving and loosening speed, the whole time it feels like the Dremel just has a slight edge on each bolt, including the 5/16 ones at the end that they might do in different order here. But total time, the Dremel's gonna finish the test sooner with 66 seconds total, which puts it just 3 seconds behind the Amazon guy, almost close enough to call that a wash, with the cool couple extra features here and there if you need it. We like this one. Okay, and up next we have the $40 to $45 Fantic Nex S1 Ace. It was $45 when we bought it. It shows $40 now. It's one of those sort of sleek and stylish tools like the Hoto we bought last time, and that one didn't do too poorly, but for like $10 less. Looks more like something you might give as a gift compared to the others today, and well, yeah, shares a lot in common with that $50 Hoto. Front light, adjustment, power switch, USB-C location, and has some decent grunt as well. It's so similar, we're going to put them head to head here, the Fantic on bottom. These are going to be neck and neck the entire run, maybe unsurprisingly, as we have a hunch these are both made in the same factory, but the Fantic being often cheaper, and I think I prefer its rounded edges over the sharp corners. These finish within 1 second of each other, 92 and 93 seconds, matching the best skill we've purchased, which given its smaller overall in shape and thought these might be a gimmick, I'm not mad at that. Now for the most requested brand from our last roundup of these, Vessel. Vessel has a couple different models, but their latest is the 3-speed 220-USB 1 model. Either way, these typically ship direct from Japan or Amazon Japan, even if you're on the US Amazon site. Though you don't get hit too hard with that, being a $47 to $48 price point, and to your door takes maybe 2 to 3 extra days. This is clearly in another category size-wise, though. Most of these are coming in at 170, 180 cc's as we measure it in overall size. This ball grip Vessel doesn't even look powered and comes in at just 90 cc's. This is so small, in fact, that in our weighted ranking scale, this is first, and there isn't even going to be a second or third because the next smallest is so much larger. It's USB-C, has a locking retention collar that doesn't even look like a collet, which we like a lot. It holds onto bits, which some of these don't. And this took some manual reading, but the 3 speeds of this tool are activated by holding down the light indicator, which turns out to be a button, slow blink, fast blink, and solid being the 3 speeds and powers. It's also much quieter than most of these as well. So it's got a lot of perks and features, but yeah, cutting to the chase, driving speed, when that task has some resistance to it, it's going to fall behind. Not as slow as today's skill option, as it can sometimes do the task. It's just other times it requires hand intervention, and that slows it down and is all hands on the 5/16 thread on the end of things. This finished at 125 seconds. Not a powerhouse, but sometimes enough power worth weighing those pros and cons for you. And finally, topping out the pricing charts, we have the Mac Tools, their new cordless screwdriver. This is the Mac Tools SBD4V52S, which comes in at a hard to believe $170, which is exactly why we bought it, to be fair, so they got that on their side. In Mac's defense, it does appear you can buy this piecemeal as a separate part number for the screwdriver mostly by itself for $100 after looking into this now. So we entered it here at just $100 and highlights that they're asking $70 for the driver bits this comes with. It does feel and look nice, has a ring out the top like the Fantic. It also does charge faster than any of these others, but they all have pretty small capacity lithium cells, so not a huge difference, we feel. What you will feel, we feel, is feelings of regret as soon as you start to actually use this tool. Free speed is fine, about average for the pack, which is odd because for how it performs on these, you'd think they were aiming for a much higher RPM, and that's why it's suffering here with a tougher task. It just won't most of the time, which meant a lot of this is hand driving and really just timing me at this point, not the tool. This is going to come in at 241 seconds. Now there's a lot to defend about a good, precise, powered screwdriver like one of these. Not every task needs to be a brute. Like this vessel, it's small, has multiple speeds, sleek, integrated locking collet, can fit this anywhere, but the Mac, it didn't beat that for twice the money with no speed or torque limiting settings or other features to speak of. Not to pile on here, just illustrating how much this category of tools feels like the less you spend, the more you get, like nothing else we test, which is awesome, frankly, and good news for us, the consumer. So let's total these things. These get ranked by price first on a sliding weighted scale. The most expensive gets a 10, certainly the Mac tools here, and the least a 1, with others being divided up from there. Tools with a similar price get the same points. Less is best. And then the same for size. A lot of these fall into a similar group, save for some obvious exceptions at the low end and top end here. Then in driving performance, this is the bulk of where most of these are going to get their points, as it's something that we can answer for you that you can't just Google. Would love to include features here ranked as well, but we try to only assign points for measurable things when we can on this channel. So this all totals, remember less is best, 41 here for the DC, 162.5 for skill, 44 for Dremel, 55.5 for Fantic, Vessel 69.5, and Mac Tools 134.5. Placing again, you can't shake it, Amazon Denali in first with 37.5 points. DeWalt in second with 40.5. That is a good tool. Works from last time being very similar to that Denali. Then Dongcheng and Dremel with 44. The two stylish guys probably made in the same factory, almost hide here and matching the Skill Twist 2.0. Then Vessel, and after that we feel a whole lot of hand turning. For a gift, something that looks both cool when opened and useful when used, I'd go with the Fantic or the very cool Japanese Vessel here. Probably the only one that can do really confined stuff. It's cool, I've been using it, but you also notice when using it, more power would be nice at times. Probably more often than you're thinking right now. We're not talking driving screws into fresh timber. Even on this furnace unit, the Dremel, this level of grunt and push to drive thing is nice to have over that Vessel. So out of all of these, our personal favorite to use with its mechanical clutch and all is the Dremel. That said, the stats don't lie with both the DC, well yeah, here at 20 bucks, pretty good, and the Denali. Still at the top for a reason, and it even has lights out front that the Dremel doesn't have, so if I was looking for a screwdriver and we're ranking features, I'm thinking the Dremel all day. But if it's just a nice to have to add to the collection thing, Denali for sure. I mean, it's 24 bucks and still somehow on top. We're going to probably leave this category here for now with 13 entries. Let us know if you'd like to see small pistol style screwdrivers ranked, and thanks for watching.